It's your man James, Mr. Quinn Treasures, back again with some more video action for you. Today's another, roll down the historical highway as we find out why it's great. It's everyone's favorite show that talks about comics of the past and why they are so cool. And this is one of my favorites, so I'm going to point it out to you why I think it's so great, and hopefully you'll want to check it out for yourself. But before we get into any of that, I want to thank you all for joining me today, and I want to thank you all for all the support you've been giving me. I'm almost to 300 subscribers now. Yeah, come on, guys. We're right there, right on the cusp. We can do this. We can do this. But I want to thank you all for all that support, and please continue to do so. And you can do that by dropping a like down there if you like what you hear here, because it helps the algorithms out around here a whole lot. Also, be sure to drop me any comments you got down there on when you hear about what the issue is, and what your thoughts are, because I would like to hear from the folks. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, so you don't miss any of the content that I am putting out on here. And if you have subscribed, share out links and bring in some new blood, because I always want to like I said, want to pump up those subscriber numbers, because the sooner I can get the higher numbers, the more I'll probably be able to do more stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So I want to thank you all again for joining me today. And today we're going to get into it. Today's pick, can't believe it. It's already November, and I can't believe it's here. But here we are. It's Adventures of Superman number 442 from 1988. A little Man of Steel action for the start of this month. So I thought you guys would enjoy checking it out. So I hope you do. And so let's get right on into it and get me off the screen here, because we don't need to see me. And then we'll bring up the book. And here we are, Adventures of Superman number 442 by John Byrne, Jerry Ordway, and Andy Kubert. Yes, that's right. You're reading that right. A Kubert brother working on Superman. Yes. Yes. This is early in Andy's career, in fact. So, but we get off this great cover here with Superman on his knees with a shadowy figure standing over him, and then the alien on his back here going, "I have stripped you of your power, Superman. Now you must face him." And I love it's a great image by John Byrne, who was probably one of the seminal artists of the character in this period of the late 80s. And I really love this right here. Let me close up here. Look at this, the way they get this shadowing on here. Now, I don't know how this was done. I know there's, you know me, I love my Zipatone, but this doesn't look like any Zipatone I've ever seen. This looks like it's almost like ink with a brush, like they spray, like he spritzed it like on a toothbrush and just sprayed it all over. Though I don't know how you get such a nice, clear, sort of like even tone with this. But man, it really set this image off to me. And when I first saw the book back on the stands back in '88, oh man. And I like it because it adds the inference of the shadow falling over him without blotting out like him or any of his costume. You can still see it's him. A great design here, a great image. Again, with a technique that I'd never seen before. Again, I'd only been reading comics for like about a year when this came out, and so this is like a whole new thing. I'd never seen anything like that before. So very, very innovative. I like that about it. But let's get on into what's underneath that innovative cover, shall we? And here we are. We started out with Superman. Here he is. He's with the aliens. That now the backstory here is in the previous part of the story done in Superman number 19. Superman was investigating an alien craft that had crash landed in the harbor there in Metropolis. And as he was doing this, slowly but surely, all of his powers, one by one, seemed to be fading away and like going, just like turning off. And here this alien comes in and he tells him that that he has stolen his powers and given them to this character here called Dreadnought, and that's the power he now must face. And I just love this. I love Andy's inking on this. I mean, the way he gets. I mean, look at the texture on this Dreadnought character. I mean, look at that little wispy lines all over the skin. I just love that. It's a great design. Jerry Ordway, one of the premier Superman artists, so of course I was going to enjoy that. But here it is. He now sees the threat, and he can see he's in big trouble. And so Dreadnought attacks. And Superman is he's totally taken aback by this. He goes I can only guess how he did it, but the little alien really has deactivated all my powers. For the first time in years, I'm completely human, completely vulnerable. So here we are, Superman facing someone who basically has siphoned his powers away and now possesses all his powers, while he himself is little more than a mere mortal now. And that's and he's But this big bruiser is going to kill me without even thinking about it, and with my own powers, but not all of them. And so then he busts out one of the few powers he has left, his heat vision. He goes, I still got one or two of my vision powers, heat vision, for instance. At full intensity, that can even burn through my invulnerability. And you can see it does hurt the Dreadnought. It does hurt him, But as you can see here, Superman isn't using it very powerfully because, again, we've seen when he's really boring it out and you can see the beams out, but here it's just sort of like a mild one. And that's a mistake because, as happens, my heat vision has quit, just like my other powers. So they're taking his powers away and giving it once again to Dreadnought. And he goes, I can feel the new power surging through me. Sample another of your own powers turned against you, man. Look at him. I mean, he's holding nothing back. You saw Superman there. He used the heat vision, but on a low intensity, whereas this guy just going full bore, 100%, just no mercy, no quarter ass, and none given. So Superman decides that discretion is the better part of valor, and he makes a little crack. He goes, "Sorry, big fella, but I forgot to put getting fried on my list of things to do for today." That's a Superman joke. That's like a dad joke. Superman doing dad jokes. You gotta love that. And so he goes, "Don't like having to run away, but if I stay here, I'll be dead long before I can figure out how to contain these two." He goes, and this is what I like here. This moment here, I never realized how helpless I'd become without my powers. When I'm being poisoned by kryptonite radiation, I still have some vestige of my strength and invulnerability, enough to fight against the pain. But this is nothing like that. My powers are gone, completely vanished. And they're out there trying to find him, and he just decides that the better part of valor, the better part of valor is discretion, and he goes, standing up to you at this point wouldn't represent bravery, only stupidity. So Superman takes off. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, Lois Lane is down the suicide slum with Jose Delgado, the guy formerly known as Gangbuster, who a few issues previously had been injured to the point that he is now a cripple. And so she's getting him home, trying to help him out. And you can see there's some punks around causing trouble in suicide slums. And you can just see here, you see the look right here, this shot right here, great image. Let me close up on that for you. Look at that face. I mean, that is just one beautiful work. Again, Jerry Ordway, very, you can't fault Ordway's work, but just the intensity. You can see how angry he goes. Talking about the homeless woman being bothered there. He goes, she's still making her home under the building stoop, and there's nothing I can do to stop those creeps hassling her. Even now he feels that he's helpless. Again, noticing a theme in the issue here. Superman is helpless. Here is Gangbuster, who is helpless. So Lois goes in and she tries to quell the situation, and you can see he begs her not to, and of course Lois takes care of business. Okay, tough guy, let's see who eats whom for lunch, shall we? And I love that here he is, and just totally shocked, totally emasculated, really, even here because here he's seeing her kicking all their asses, and yet he's the one that was superhero, as it were, before he was sidelined. So again, just a great moment here with Lois Lane showing why she's no one's damsel in distress. Even though she's been saved by Superman many times, she's not a damsel in distress by any stretch. Then we get back to Superman, and he's crawling around in between alleys trying to find a way to get back to his house, his apartment, Clark Kent's. He goes, and because he goes, I've got to get back to my apartment. And on foot, that could take hours. And so as he's walking through, he's trying to figure out how can I, get this. He goes, maybe someone of my friends would help me, but there's only two problems. One is that he'd be endangering them, and he doesn't want to do that. And two is that he would have the problem of trying to explain to them why is it Superman wants to get to Clark Kent's place, and to expose his dual identity. So he comes with it, and he goes, no, he goes, resourceful as even Jimmy. He said Jimmy can't help him because he's just a kid. He goes, I can't call on him on a dangerous incident. No, until that call I made earlier on shows some fruition, I'm on my own on this one. Or am I? And then what's this? Why is Superman suddenly peaked? Who's he going to go through for help? He can't go to Jimmy Olsen or Perry White or Lois Lane to help him. His friends, who can he go to in all of Metropolis? Meanwhile, Dreadnought and Siphon are out looking for Superman. And when they run into another hero, it's Aquaman. And he goes into to assault, and all of a sudden doesn't quite go the way he planned. He uses his telepathy to have the whale launch him, but it doesn't quite launch him the way he expected. And well, there you are. Your manner of attack puzzles me, stranger. What do you hope to accomplish by this? And even he began to see. He goes, seems like I lost my telepathic bond with the whale just at the last moment there. you know. And he goes, my arrival may have been less than picture perfect, friend, but what I lacked in what my lead-in lacked, I can more than make up for with my follow-through. And so he comes in, starts swinging, using his strength, saying, he's not as strong as Superman. He goes, but having survived the depths of the ocean, he has strength that's also beyond just a mere mortal. But what's this? Much the blazes, my strength, and suddenly, bam, right through the pier into the water, which you would think would help him out, but it doesn't, because you can see here my telepathic ability. He's stolen it from me somehow, and that's not all. I can't breathe underwater anymore. I'm drowning. So, I mean, in a way, it's kind of funny to see this because we've all heard the story about how Aquaman is just a wasteful character. He's kind of like, on those Super Friends, he was always the one that had like the least amount of help because if he's not in the water, what good is he to you? And here it is, he's losing the very powers that make him who he is. And how ironic to see Aquaman worried about drowning. But before that can happen, he's saved by the Martian Manhunter, who drags the Dreadnought out. But of course, as you can see here, it begins to happen to him too. Can't stay aloft, so he loses his flight power. Meanwhile, we see exactly what it was that Superman was thinking when he said, I need help. He goes to Professor Hamilton as Clark Kent and tells him, I need your help. He goes, I'll help however I can, although I'm sure Superman could do better, but what can I do? And he goes, well, Professor, the other day Superman told me about one of your inventions. So he's going to use one of Hamilton's inventions, but which invention? What's he talking about? Well, let's see if we can find out. But before that happens, we take another little side jaunt, and here we see Supergirl showing up to Smallville, having flown all the way from Antarctica. And you can see she's kind of confused as to what's going on. She's trying to remember some things. She remembers this because this is not the Supergirl that we know. This is the post-crisis Supergirl, the one from what we would later learn is a pocket universe. And she's trying to remember what the mission was. Why am I here? And she goes, Superman, yes, that's why I'm here, to find. And she runs into none other than Lana Lang. What's this? A mystery for another day, it seems. Another conundrum that will soon embroil Superman's life in lots of craziness. But again, I just love these shots here of Supergirl, these close-up shots. This is some of the best stuff Jerry Ordway always did. He was always very good with close-up shots like these. Getting those facial expressions, getting the body language. You can really feel her confusion, her sense of of befuddlement. Just very well done. Very well done. So we cut back to the battle, and we see Dreadnought is knocking around Martian Manhunter like he's nothing. And he even says, he goes, he stripped me of all but my invulnerability. I fear he left me with that only so I can survive while he toys with me. And he just seems to, it looks like it's going to be all over for him when, again, another hero shows up, and it's the Elongated Man. So all these heroes are showing up to try to stop the Dreadnought. But as we're going to see here in this, we would return back to Lois Lane and Jose Delgado. You can see he's struggling with his new status. He goes, I know one more joy of my life is a cripple. Can he help up the stairs? And so, Lois tells him to quit. Trying to put himself down. That what's happened to you is because other people have dealt with stuff like this, and you can deal with this. And she goes, you have an interesting place here, Jose. Very revealing. Mind if I turn on the radio? We could use some music, I think. Please do this. And allow me to compliment you again on how you handle those punks. Even the cops are impressed, and they don't impress easily in Suicide Slum. So again, he's feeling emasculated. And, this is where she tells him that, her father, who's a military guy, taught her how to handle herself. And then we get the news reports of the battle at the docks. And we see Jose, he can't, he says, I'm never going to be able to do anything for myself. Can't even make a cup of coffee. And so Lois tries to console him. I'm no good to anyone, and just leave me alone. And she goes, I can't. And then we see they start to, as well as they're having this heart to heart. The news goes on about the battle. And here's the question: is the question now is, where is Superman? Because they're seeing all these other heroes fighting Dreadnought, but where is Superman, the hero of Metropolis? When all this is going down, Superman is nowhere to be seen. And Lois tries to console Jose and tells him, I can't bear to see you tearing yourself up like this, Jose. I know how much you lost, how much it must pain you to have lost the use of your legs. I know what a terrible blow that is to have an active, alive man like you. But that's not all there is to you, Jose. You still have ideals, your heart and your mind, and I'm willing to bet you still have the courage that made you put on the gangbuster suit in the first place. And if it will at all help, you have me. So it's a very tender moment. Someone trying to reach out to someone obviously in pain. Because Jose is just feeling totally worthless, being a cripple now. Again, just a very, very good character moment. This is the other thing that was great about Superman at this time, was great character stuff like this. You had all these great moments that were just very human moments. And then we take another side jaunt to Jimmy Olsen. We see his mother here overlooking some old clippings as Jimmy's about to head out to the docks to monitor the battle. Her mother tells him, you're not going, because they just recently found out that his father maybe still be alive, and he's trying to break away and say, look, whatever that is, we'll deal. We can discuss it after I cover the story. And he goes, I said, no, Jimmy. The middle of a fight between superheroes is no place for a child. So we got, again, more stuff that's obviously cooking on the back burner here. The story with Jose Delgado, the story with Supergirl, and I got the story with Jimmy Olsen. All this stuff is brewing as Superman is powerless now. So we cut back to the docks again, and once again now we get another hero in. It's Captain Marvel Shazam into action. And again, I just and again, this is kind of funny because we all learned later on, years after this, it is Jerry Ordway who would be writing and sometimes drawing the Power of Shazam series that DC did in the 90s. And so to see him here doing Captain Marvel is just kind of is like almost like funny, like a funny precursor to it. So Captain Marvel arrives on the scene. He starts to just as the elongated man loses his powers, and then he shows up and he starts tearing him apart. He goes, so you're in the power stealing game, huh, Mr. Ugly? Well, I got a few of those myself. You just got a sample of the strength of Hercules. Now here's what happens when I pour on the speed of Mercury. And then mixed liberally with the pure power of Zeus, and he just goes to town. Like he's taking the role of Superman in the story now. And then we get to see the heroes who have lost their powers start to understand what's happening here. This must be the Siphon the other one referred to. Yes, what's wrong with him? He looks in bad shape, and he does. Something not quite right is going on. Meanwhile, as Captain Marvel is battling, it begins to happen to him. Powers fading, can't think straight, can hardly stand. And then just as he's about to start wailing on him, who shows up but Clark Kent. Sorry, Dreadnought, don't think there's much market for big red cheese paste. And he just comes in and clocks him. And now we see what happens here. He goes, I really hate to hit a foe when he's down, Dreadnought, but since that's the best, that's what you do best, I think I can make an exception in your case. And this is one power your little ally can't steal. And you see what he's got a force field around him. This is the device he got from Hamilton, Professor Hamilton, the belt that gives people a personal force field that makes him pretty much like invulnerable, like Superman normally is. And you can see the Siphon isn't in good shape when this is going down. He begs him to stop, tells him he's won, and then now we learn the truth of everything. He goes, then Superman's guess was right. You came from the alien craft that crashed in the river yesterday. And he goes, yes, we would have been the vanguard of a great invasion fleet had you failed to deduce the way to defeat us. And so, Superman as Clark Kent kind of goes to him. He goes, the more here you can't stop feeding power into Dreadnought, can you? The more heroes who came, the more power you forced into him. He goes, yes, I'm equipped to analyze the brains of beings with superpowers. I find the area and the brain which controls their power and shut it off. The Dreadnought duplicates the power, thus creating the illusion we steal it. And he goes, but now it's time for us to go. And they just seem to disappear into mist. Did they kill themselves? But no, Superman says, he goes, no, as Superman guessed, Siphon and Dreadnought were not really alive. They were super sophisticated probes sent by an unknown alien race to determine if we were smart enough to foil a would-be invasion. And he goes, so that's why he contacted all of us. We all have internal powers Siphon could be compelled to steal. And then they ask, well, how did Superman figure all this? How did he figure all that out? And he goes, it was the way his powers were going that first tipped Superman off. He goes, as you all know, Superman's power comes from the way his Kryptonian cells process the solar radiation from our sun. He reasoned that it would therefore be impossible for someone to literally steal his powers. If you were to suck the radiation out of Superman, the best you could hope for would be a good tan. He goes, you see, what Siphon created was something called very much like a psychosomatic blindness. Just as a person affected with that ailment can't see, but his brain can still see, but his brain refuses to accept the images transmitted by his eyes. And he goes, it's the same thing with your powers. You just mesh with your mind basically, so that you would not have access to your powers. And just as it all comes to an end, in comes Lois, and when I heard on the radio what you were doing, I couldn't believe it. Since when are you the superhero? Honestly, it is one. If there was one man in this world I thought I'd never see pulling this kind of game, it's you. And I'm not going to stand for it. You hear me? One man I care about almost got himself killed playing hero. I won't allow it to happen to another. So Lois coming in, laying down some law, and you can see the guys back here getting a little jolly at his expense. A little funny ending after an issue of lots of drama, lots of action, lots of bewilderment. All this great stuff. So as you can see here, I mean, this is a great issue because you see Superman using his head to win. It wasn't his powers that made Superman the victor. It was his mind. It was him thinking it through. He figured out how the aliens were doing what they did, and then figured out a way to beat them by going to someone who could help him to defeat them. And that's the great thing here. That's why I loved about this is how Superman is shown as a hero, not because of his powers, but because of how he's willing to sacrifice. He was in trouble and he thought he could run to his friends, but he didn't, because he says, I don't want to endanger my friends. That's the self-sacrifice of a hero. This is the heroic standard that you don't see so much of in the modern stuff anymore. You don't see a Superman who's willing to be like this, and that's what I love about this. But and again, just some great action stuff here. When Captain Marvel comes in and just goes to town, that's great stuff. The shot of him transforming, classic. Just great stuff. This was a book filled with many characters and also many human moments, just like this. The human drama of it all. And that was always one of the big things of Superman is you get not just the great action, but the great human drama of it all. And this issue spots like that very well. You got the mystery of Supergirl. You have Jimmy Olsen and his mystery with his father really alive. And just tons of action. Almost like a Justice League cameo. And you notice on the cover there was no blurb about guest starring the Justice League or anything like that. They didn't even make a mention there were going to be other heroes in the book. They just show up. I mean, imagine that. Imagine now a book today where they didn't publish or have on the cover some way that, look, it's the Justice League is in the book too. They didn't. They just, the story focused on Superman, but yet they just had the characters come in as a matter of course. Like, hey, this kind of thing can happen in a world full of superheroes, and I like that. I like that they didn't have to make the fact that the members of the Justice League showing up was like a big deal. It's just this is just tended to happen when you got crazy alien creatures on a rampage in Metropolis. That's just perfect. And again, just like I said, this right here, when Superman lost his heat vision, you saw the difference. Again, you see the difference. There's Superman using it, and then there's Dreadnought using it. And you can see the difference between the two. Again, the heroic standard, the heroic ideals of Superman. Putting himself in danger, but not willing to hurt anyone, even his foe. He doesn't want to really hurt them. And that's that heroic, square-jawed standard that you don't see anymore in the comics. And again, I love Jerry Ordway's close-ups right here. I mean, just look at those expressions. Beautiful stuff. And again, inked by a younger Andy Kubert, who was, had only been doing stuff for a few years by this point. He had just came in, after probably just graduating his father's school. And again, just in true Kubert fashion, he actually brought a nice touch, like I said, like this shot right here of Dreadnought with the little detail in the wispy lines on the skin to indicate the texture of this alien skin. Just beautifully done. Again, it's so you got John Byrne on scripting, you got Jerry Ordway penciling, and you got Andy Kubert inking. It's an all-star cast on an issue of Superman that again is one that flies under the radar. Nobody's looking out to try to grab this issue. It's not a key of any kind. It's just a fun, action-packed story with Superman having to deal with something he's never dealt with before, the loss of his powers, and how he has to outthink his opponents and not outpunch them. He didn't overpower them with his physicality. He overpowered them with his mentality and mental acuity. And that to me is what is so great about this issue. You see Superman, without his powers, and yet he's still the hero. And it's a great story. So I definitely say got to check this one out. Adventures of Superman number 442 from 1988. You could probably get a copy of this for like $5. It's not a key. It's not a very expensive book. And again, an all-star cast of creators working on this. It's fun. It's got personal drama. It's got a lot of human heart. Everything you'd want in a Superman book. Definitely want to check out Adventures of Superman 442. You can't go wrong with this one, believe me. And there we have it. So another one in the books here. Another, why it's great in the annals here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you got some charge out of that. If you've read the book in the past, or if you haven't, I hope you got a little bit of insights perhaps to the character here. But I thank you all for joining me today, and I just want to remind you, please drop any comments you have down there. What did you think of the issue? Do you think Superman showed himself to be the true blue hero even without powers? Do you think it was just kind of a boring issue? Let me know your thoughts down below, because I always want to hear what you guys got to say. I'm going to be back with some more stuff very soon. Of course, I got more Wyatt Grace coming up, and also some other things I'm working on. I'm trying to get another sequential art showcase going. Plus, I don't want to promise it, but before the end of the month, I'm going to try to get another sequential thinking piece, which I haven't done one for a while. So I might be a little rusty. I hope not too badly, but I'm going to try to get another one of those in for you. So got a lot of stuff going on around here, more stuff than ever before. And I want to thank you all for joining me and supporting me as you have. And please keep up doing that, because I appreciate all your efforts, and I will also be doing all I can on my end. So I will be back soon with some more stuff. And until next time, take care.